I kind of grew up thinking the bad guys end up in prison and the good guys don't. And it was very naive and simplistic of me.
Well, I did 2 years of junior college, then I left, joined the Sheriff's Department as a community service officer. From there I went to the Border Patrol, where I was stationed out in the El Centro sector. And I realized that the application of law wasn't always fair, so I started looking and making a difference.
Miguel Penaloza from San Diego and Marianne Lalou from Westchester, New York, are first-year students at San Diego's California Western School of Law. They enrolled in this small school because of its California Innocence Project. In its 11 years under Justin Brooks and Jan Stiglitz, the Innocence Project has exonerated many wrongly convicted prisoners. The cases of Ken Marsh, who served 21 years in prison for the accidental death of his girlfriend's baby, Adam Riojas, wrongly convicted of a murder committed by his father, and John Stoll, who, because of fabricated testimony, served 20 years of a 40-year sentence for child molestation. These cases are enough to give even the most hardline three-strikes advocate pause. Why was justice in these cases and countless others so perverted? Why do we get it so wrong?
The number one cause of wrongful conviction in the United States and in the world is misidentification. And the reason is that when somebody walks into court and points at another person and says that's the person who committed this crime, that is very powerful evidence. However, the science has proven that it's not very good evidence. But then there's things such as cross-racial identification. And the studies have shown that we're not good at identifying people who are not from our own race. And that's a difficult thing to explain to jurors. Jurors sometimes think that sounds racist, but really it's just about exposure.
Many of the wrongful convictions based on poor lawyers are private attorneys who are in over their heads, who, they specialize in misdemeanors or DUIs, and then all of a sudden someone approaches them about doing a major felony, and they say, sure, I can do it for $10,000, and they do a hopelessly inadequate job.
Sometimes the officers just become convinced that they're right, and so they'll fabricate some evidence to make sure that the courts don't get it wrong. And sometimes some prosecutors get overzealous in pursuing their cases. And sometimes they don't disclose things to the defense that they should have disclosed.
Bad identifications, bad lawyers, bad prosecutors.
Add to the mix judges and district attorneys who won't cooperate with innocence investigations unless ordered to, and getting an innocent person out of prison becomes a very tall order indeed. How does the California Innocence Project even choose which cases to pursue out of the 1,000 or so inquiries they receive each year?
Our case review process is guys write to us, inmates write to us, their families write to us. And our first screening is, are they claiming they're innocent? We get as much information as we can about their case. We then give that to a student. The student will talk to the trial lawyer, will talk to the appellate lawyer, will get a hold of the briefs in the case.
Is there some evidence that they can uncover that would enable us to go into court and convince a court that our person is in fact innocent?
The California Innocence Project is currently working on dozens of active files. Marianne Lalou is looking into an unusual case. Unusual because the client is out of prison, but he was convicted of a sex crime.
It's something hanging over his head for the rest of his life, and he's 26 years old. And to think that his future has been taken away from him by someone who shows absolutely no remorse is shocking to me.
Miguel Penaloza's client was a victim of misidentification. He has been in prison for 6 years for a murder his half-brother now admits he committed.
So right now, my biggest concern is trying to find out if we can figure out where the gun was buried so we can go get that, and that kind of corroborate the admission of the brother, so we will have an even stronger case.
So it's basically, we've got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt innocence after the prosecution's proved beyond a reasonable doubt guilt.
The burden is heavy, and these young students feel it. But they welcome the opportunity, and because failure has such deep consequences for all, to them, it is not an option.